All right, you legends, heading out to pick up the group. It's about almost 6:15, about 6:13. The daylight is coming later. Usually by now it should be lit up, but as you can see, early dawn. So the days are changing. They're getting shorter. I'm gonna get some clips for you all, and hopefully it should be a lot of fun.
On this ride, I left Northampton, rode into the woodlands, picked up the group at the Alden Village Center. We headed out. On Research Forest, Honea-Egypt Road, I started to film, went through the neighborhood, lots of action, all the way out to Keenan Cutoff Road, 149 Springbranch Road, lots of action. We went through the Tri-Lakes area and we stopped at Dobbins and then stopped the filming there. Then we continued on Mount Moriah. I had to stop and adjust the mechanical on my front wheel, kind of came loose on me. I continued and met up with the group in Montgomery at Taco Corner and came back in with them. It was a very spirited ride. We used Honea-Egypt all the way back and came up that last big climb into the woodlands. I think you will love the clips that we put together for you. Paul and I rode throughout Sterling Ridge after the ride to get some extra Ks. And then I wrapped it up by heading back home. We're on the open road. Honea-Egypt Community Road. Paulie Longai is leading the group. We just turned off a fish creek. You can see how he has worked with a good fit and training and improved his, what the French call souplesse on the bike. So we just started the ride. We're kind of getting things started. We headed kind of a northwesterly, mostly west. In a bit, it's going to go more northerly. We're heading towards the Grand Lake Estates. The road slightly descends here. We've got a good-sized group. You will see everybody in a little bit. After Paul pulls, I will pull for a bit, and Mike Barreras will come to the front. You'll see the difference in styles. Mike's going to be pushing a big gear in his TT position. So Paul's just kind of rolling with the terrain and going through the gears. He might be sitting in a 5316 or something like that. So if you're not as smooth, if you find yourself moving around, it's not just your legs like you see Paul riding here, that you start with a good fit first of all, meaning your saddle position, your cleats, and then you work on the cockpit independently. But then every time you ride, you want to work on that. It's a work in progress. Going to be descending in a bit. I think he's going to pull off right before we begin the descent. Right here, I think he's going to pull off in a little bit. So I'll go ahead, I'm going to roll through. And then Mike Barreras will come to the front. He likes to go fast on the downhills. Somebody call car back. So I stayed to the right. I waved at the driver. Tapped his horn as he went by. There's Mike Barreras. San Diego Mike. Comes to the front. I jump on his wheel. Basically rolling a big gear. We're doing about 25 miles an hour thereabouts. So part of your training needs to involve your ability to sustain the effort in a reasonably sized gear to where you're not really mashing, where you feel some resistance. And you try to be as smooth as you can as you go through the pedal circle, like you see Mike doing. Mike's on those bars, and so sometimes when you move, there's a tendency for the bike to go left or right or whatever, but he's staying relatively within a foot in each direction. So I just hold my position. So when he moves to the right, I stay where I am. Because either way, I'm getting enough of a draft. The road is beginning to go up a bit here. It's one of my favorite roads in the area. It has a lot of patina. There's a character to this road that when you get on it, it makes you want to ride. If you watch Mike, he is pushing, scraping, lifting, using the psoas muscle to go through every phase of the pedaling circle. So he's spinning, but he's spinning at a lower cadence than, say, someone who's doing like 110 or 100 RPMs. He might be spinning maybe 75 to 85 or so at this point. But there are times when he spins faster when he needs to. You got to be able to do all of it. So he's working that gear, but he's doing it smoothly, even though his cadence is not like a hamster. Let's put it that way. So you can spin at 75. You can spin at 90. You can spin at 85. The idea is that you're moving through the stroke and using all the muscles in your legs. People generally equate spinning with a high cadence. That's not necessarily the case. It's how well you go through the phases of pedaling. It's something you have to work on. Pedaling is not a natural skill for us humans. We walk. So if you look at Mike's legs, when it goes down, he's actually scraping and pulling back and kicking over so that the other leg is not carrying the load when this one is done with the down phase. That's why you have to think about it. You have to practice that. So as the road goes up, he's adjusting his gearing as the road starts to go at 2.2%. So he's downshifted already, but he's keeping his rhythm close to what he was doing before. I'm using a slightly higher cadence behind him. Slight grade here, 3%. This part of the road is scraped up. I stay on the road. I have my tires that are around 90 psi, so it's very comfortable. Because those reflectors on the edge of the road, you got to really watch them if you want to avoid the scraped up portion. And I like to do that only when I'm the first rider. When you're following people, it's harder to see. So we're going to be turning shortly into the neighborhood. So you see Mike is on that smooth piece of pavement. I stay on the road itself because I can't see very well. I'm right on his wheel. So our left turn into the Grand Lake Estates. When I have the time during the week, I come out here, and this is a route I like to do because you stay on Honea-Egypt for a bit, and then you cut through here. It's quiet, and it's got lumps. The gate is closed, so I'll go ahead and enter the code. That's Darren. He's trying to keep moving while we wait for the gate to open. There are several codes to the neighborhood. We have cyclists that live in here and they share with us, so we keep it close to the vest, you know, for their security. Loretta, the El Pirata. That's Laura on Mike's wheel. Everybody was sitting down. That's what Mike Brederas is saying. Everybody sits up every time we come in the neighborhood. I was sitting up so I could go to the back to so you guys could see everybody that's in the group.
Dan, how you doing?
That's Dan Jaworski. In the white. It's Paulie Longa. That's Enrique Pereira. This is the group for today. We picked up a lot of people on the way back. You always pick up people when you go to the store. Guys are there. They join our group on the way back. Dan Jaworski in the white in front of Paulie Longa on the left is a very experienced rider. He mostly rides alone. He started coming to some of our rides. We used to ride with him from time to time. Sometimes we'd see him out there or with Team RR. We've added him to our group, so hopefully he will join us more often. We had a good time riding with him on this ride. A very spirited ride. Yeah, Mike is asking me who's the guy in white. Mike Berenas. Dan Jaworski, a seasoned cyclist. There are cyclists and there are people who just ride bikes. There's a difference.
That's why he likes the early start.
Yeah, Dan is very sensitive to the sun, so he wears a good layer of sunblock because it's so hot now, those sleeves just don't work for me. So I use sunblock myself on my arms. Dan uses sunblock on his legs and arms. And I think Laura uses sunblock also. So you have to protect your skin, especially in the summer. This part of the world is closer to the sun. That's why our days are longer. So we have more intense sunshine. So don't wait until you have a problem. If you're a fair complexion person, like if you're a redhead or something, you got to cover up. And they have all kinds of arm sleeves I think Paul's wearing arm sleeves on this ride. I have a few, but once it gets much above 85 to 90, they just seem so hot for me. So I use SPF 50 sports sunblock. That's Darren in front of Dan. I'm sitting right next to Mike here. We're just kind of rolling along. The calm before the storm. Descending here in the distance, you can see how the road will go up. We descend and it kicks up. When we come back, we don't come back through here, but sometimes we use this route from time to time. There's a lot of spirited riding when we come in the neighborhood. This is the neighborhood where when you say we're going through the neighborhood, everybody knows you mean the Grand Lake Estates. Very cycling friendly. There's a golf course at the top of that hill. On either side of the road. The office, I think, is on the right. They have enough traffic calming bumps that you see us going over, so it slows the cars down too. Try to ride over those things at speed in your car, you would feel it. It'll tear up your suspension too. Distance, we're going to turn right, and the grade just continues. It starts gradually and then continues to kick up before we get to the back gate. This entire stretch where we're turning the curve, everything is a grade. Between 1 to 3% usually, but you're working, you feel it the whole time from the time we pass the golf course office back there on that first bump. This is what I was talking about. It starts, you just feel the grade. Right.
Every time I watch the Olympics, there's about 10 or 15 new countries that crop up over the last 4 years. I can't keep track of all these countries.
Mike's talking about the Olympics.
Countries I never heard of.
What he's talking about is we got South Sudan or other countries that didn't usually show up at the Olympics, and they're getting more competitive. I mean, even in basketball. Serbia gave the U.S. basketball team a hard time. They were down like 17 points. They had to really get serious, messing around. It's not 1992 anymore. Everybody can play basketball. It's an American game, but the world knows it now. The NBA has more than 50 players from all over the world. So, you know, they still play at best, in my opinion, in the NBA. Back in the day when Dominique Wilkins and those boys were there, they used to run a commercial where they would say, America's game played worldwide, but in the NBA, we are world champions or something like that. And if you didn't agree with them, you were asked to bring your team. Boys took it personal. Basketball. America's game. This is what I was talking about. We're just riding uphill. You feel it, and you gotta pace it. This road's called Linda's Place. Right here, it kicks up. What's it get to? Yeah, 3.8. You feel it more than anything. So you can see my watts go up close to 3 something. Yeah. So if you have the right terrain and you go out and you just ride, you don't need a power meter necessarily. Just ride. You know, in the right terrain, you will get the work. But you know, if you're on flat roads with wind behind you, yeah, you got to be mentally tough to push yourself. I'm not discounting a power meter. You know, for those who are focused, yeah, a power meter can really have you specify your training. Specificity matters. That's why I don't do weights. I just ride the bike. If I want to push a big gear, I push it. I build the muscles that I need. The only kind of thing I do, I have a total gym, and it's more of a stretching thing. It's more like calisthenics. I love it because I feel like it helps my recovery because you end up stretching a lot as you exercise. It's an excellent machine. The whole family can use it. And there are no plates for you to be dealing with, just your body weight. And the level of the bench determines the intensity of the workout. So this area right here is a false flat. It's going to start descending soon. Go to the rear gate to leave this compound. It's a little 3% climb here. Still a little bump. It levels off as we go towards the gate. So the keypad is not on this side of the gate at the back, it's on the other side. So how do we, usually we'll climb over the fence. I don't. I usually just wait for a car. And when I come by myself, if it's not open, I just do repeats on this hill. It doesn't take long for somebody to come from either the other side or in the compound to activate the gate. So shortly after we got there, car comes in, so we head out. So as we're leaving, nobody wants to take a pull, you know. It's like,
Pedaling. Somebody pedaling.
For our races in NorCal.
All my good life have like.
so right here, I just go ahead and go to the front to just ride. Everybody's messing around. You know, let's get to the business of riding. It's a bit of a 5% bump as you leave the compound. That's why the speed's up low, the effort's up. So now I'm over the bump, so I'm just gonna settle into a rhythm. Dan is going to come to the front after the group gets my wheel. I was up there for a while, so I did a time lapse. So Dan comes through, I get on his wheel. And Dan ended up taking some substantial pulls throughout the ride, even off camera or coming back. It was a very spirited ride. It was fun. There's more action to come when we get on Springbranch. It gets very interesting. Dan is going to pull all the way to Keenan cut off, and then even after we turn, he will continue. Turn to go west. Little bump before we leave the neighborhood. I think I remain seated. I found the appropriate gear. He asks where we're going. I told him we're going to be turning left. Okay.
Left turn.
End up telling him we're going to
Springbranch.
So we added Dan to the chat group after the ride, so he'll be able to get the routes
Clear.
going forward. Clear, we turn, nothing's coming. I go in front for a bit, but Dan's not finished pulling. I figure he was done, but he comes back, so hey, I'm not gonna fight for the front. It's a long day. End up doing at least 6 hours on this day. This is a grade. When we turn on Keenan cut off at least 2%. So you have to like pace yourself. Because you look in the distance, it's a little lumpy. Nice rolling terrain. Dan's gonna come by, so I'm gonna drift to the back. Right there. That's Darren, Enrique, Loretta, Laura, Logan, Lemont Champousson from the Arkea 716. I think it's a B&B now. It's an Airbnb or something. I gotta find out which team he's on. Anyway, that's John Mulbright. That's Paulie Longa. And then I think Mike Bereras. I slip in front of Mike because Mike wants to be on his aero bars. So he'll sit behind it until he feels like going to the front, in a few kilometers. You'll see him roll to the front. This road is up and down. You gotta use your gears. 3% here. Then they'll level off. Then before you know it kicks back up. So you gotta work the gears. Don't be shy to shift. Chirp when cars are coming by, picks them up pretty early. Road goes up here. I think I remain seated here, spinning. 4%. Going downhill, Mike puts it in a big gear. The cyclist going the other way. This is a heavily traveled cycling route. Mostly downhill, you see I'm not pedaling. I did soft pedal or coast, especially when you're in the bunch. just kind of rolling here, nice and steady. When we get to Highway 149, we're gonna go north. We're headed west now. Northwesterly direction. Keenan cutoff will be hitting Highway 149 in about probably 2 kilometers. Mile or so, mile and a half. Riding Highway 149, turn right in about probably, I would say 2 kilometers. We'll be at the turn to go on Springbranch Road. So this is a busy road. It's clear right now, and that barrel, see those barrels there? I don't know why they're there. There's no construction going on. Maybe they were doing something at that point. But Paul get off the main lane. I'm gonna stay in the main lane. I'm using my mirror. I can see there are no vehicles coming, so we don't need to be too concerned at this point. Keeping my eye on my mirror, making sure that the upcoming, the traffic behind us, I'm monitoring. I'm going to signal to let the driver know that we're going to be turning because he's getting closer. Say car back. I think I'm one. I'm in the car.
Car back.
Yeah.
Car back.
But I let him know. We're going to be turning. He backed off. So we're going to turn left. Now we got to watch for traffic coming. There's a hill. It's a blind spot the other way. So sitting on the bike, you can see. So we'll watch for that.
Car left.
The car exiting Springbranch Road, so people don't cut the corners. You gotta let your team members know, your group members. So now, we're on that busy road very long. This is very quiet here. Somebody twisted a screw up there. You see my cadence was 104. And then I came up on his wheel and I went to 0 because they stopped. You can see Michael has stopped. Has stopped pedaling. That's the thing with these dynamics in the group. Moving at a good clip. There's a 9% climb in about probably 5 kilometers, about 3 miles. Beautiful road. See how the trees are coming together. Springbranch Road. It's an agricultural community. Farmers, people have animals and stuff out here. Large acreage properties. Low traffic volume, high exercise potential. You want to have a good workout, you got to get out of town. We're pushing here. I'm keeping my gear reasonable, keeping my cadence up. About 27 miles an hour as we approach the climb. Climbed the hill, I stood up, and then I'm going to pass him and just sit, because he really wasn't going that hard. I thought he was going to maintain the effort. So I dropped the effort here. Michael takes off. Then I look to see who's coming. That's Dan Jaworski, Paul, Ilonga. So I get on Enrique's wheel, because he started it all. But he's really not firing, so I decide, okay, I'm just going to sit and see what happens. So Mike Barreras rides up. Laura's going to come in a little bit, I believe, if I remember correctly. We've got a bunch of people behind us. I don't want to carry anybody. Because on the climb, everybody got to work. So Enrique is pushing here. He's not making up much ground. That's Laura. Laura's riding up. keeping my eye on them in the distance. I'm trying to decide when to bridge up. I'm right at the top of zone 2, even after all that effort. So my fitness is really good. Go around this guy. I made a slight acceleration, then I'm going to sit up right there to see who wants to come around. Now they're coming around. That's what I wanted to see. So a lot of times in the ride, we get people that just sit in the whole ride. Like, you got to put your nose in the wind. You want to get up there, you got to work. So when I went around them, I jumped and did not carry any passengers, and I moved to the right. So they had to work. So I'm watching. Logan comes around. Okay, everybody got to work. This is the same thing that happens in a breakaway. If you're in a breakaway and you're not going to share the work, they will attack you, and you're going to have to work. There's a rider that he's out riding by himself, just past him. So now I'm going to ride back to them because everybody wants to sit on wheels the whole ride. And so when I get up there, by the time I get up there, we're going to hit the next hill, and I'm going to attack. Then Michael will take off. I'm going to look to see who wants to go. We just keep riding. It's interesting. So it's hard here. I'm doing almost 30 miles an hour. I'll ride up to them. Enrique is behind me. I believe he's on my wheel. I don't know if he's on my wheel or... No, I think he's up here. If I remember correctly. Somebody's back there. I don't remember who. But right here, as soon as I get to the tail of the bunch, we're on a climb, I'm going to go around them. You want to go when it's hard. So I go right here. Anaerobic effort. Now I pull to the right. And Michael's going to take off. I turn off the power right here. It levels off. Waiting to see what's happening. I'm going to ride for a bit, then I think Michael will take off. I wanted something to film. I'm filming the road right now. But it was hard. Nobody wanted to come around. So Michael comes around and he goes and opens the gap. I didn't realize that I stayed up here this long. Yeah, this is where he goes. No one goes with him. So I get on Dan's wheel. This is Dan Jaworski again, coming to take a pull. See the watts? So after all those attacks, you got to be able to recover quickly and go again. That's dynamic cycling. You got to train to where you can recover quickly. So Dan's going to pull off in a little bit. When he does, I will immediately go through and pull off because nobody else been pulling. I don't want to sit up there. I'm going to pull off. Yeah, this is where Dan pulls off because he's been pulling. He pulled us in the neighborhood. So I go through and I pull off so somebody else can come around. Michael's in the distance. Can't really see him very well, but we can see him. At this point, we're not really chasing. Just kind of riding. Laura comes through. Paul Longa. Mike Barreras. I'm trying to hold the same position I was in. You see the gap opening? Because nobody wants to go through. So by me staying where I was, I forced them to go through. And Dan comes around, get on his wheel. This is where I was. So a lot of times it might happen in your group too. There's certain people just want to sit in the whole time. That's okay if they can't hold the pace. But what gets me is some of those people that sit in, they think they're being sneaky. And then when a sprint sign comes up, they want to say, oh, they want to sprint for the sign. Well, if you can sprint, then you should have taken some pulls. If you're having problems, it's understandable. But if you got the ability to sprint for the city limit sign, then you need to help the group along that you're riding with. You got to take your cuts. So you have to train if you want to be an attacking style of rider. You got to be able to attack, recover, and do it again. That comes with building your aerobic fitness, having a strong base, and then work on your anaerobic capacity. So at this point, we just ride. I don't know if we've caught up with Marco yet, but we ride all the way. Just the effort is high, and we're just rolling through. So the line is tight. I begin to hear all kinds of noises from the front of my bike. I'm not sure what it is. Every time I would stand, I started hearing noises, and it got progressively worse. I figured it out after we left the first stop. Got it sorted. I had to stop to sort it out. I'm not sure how I let that happen. The skewer was not as tight as it should have been. And every time I would stand, there would be this noise. Laura was the one pulled off. Avoid braking, I pulled to the left. There's a slight descent here. Minus 1.2. Last little bump before we get off of Springbranch Road. We're going to be turning left to go into an area called Tri-Lakes. Cars coming back, passing us. When it's close like that, you get the double beeps. He's going to wait. Because we're going to be turning left. So I'm signaling him to spread out and take the
Car back, left turn.
He's turning onto that lane, so I just turned.
Man, those brakes are noisy.
Disc brakes, you gotta clean them. You gotta service them.
It's supposed to be an upgrade, though.
They're definitely not the Timex of brakes. They paved this road nicely. It's chip seal. it kicks up here. It gets to like 4.5%. This area is called Tri-Lakes. Supposedly there are 3 lakes in here. I don't think I've ever seen them. Not all 3 of them. I'm not sure where that. Probably in private compounds, private little villages. Somebody ends up dropping a bottle out here. And I ride up and I tell the guys, oh, we need to regroup after the bridge. Only Michael slowed down, I think, for it. So I decided to slow down, to regroup. A lot of the bikes that have these carbon, I mean, it depends on which kind of cage you get. Carbon cages or plastic cages, they don't hold bottles when you hit railroad tracks or rough surfaces that bounce off. I use a metal cage. The bottle never falls off. These are the kind of roads we use because you don't have to deal with cars that often. Once in a while, a car may come by. I mean, that's every day, any day of the week you come through here is like this. There's no industry here. Private homes, large acreage. You don't have the high volume that we have in my neighborhood. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry has a car. Out here, you got one car maybe every 7 minutes or so, if that. Animals out here, they're fenced in. This is quiet. This is it. Beautiful. That's why we go out of town on the weekends. That's where he dropped the bottle right there on that bump. So somebody's at the bottle, and those guys didn't hear it. Then a little bit, I'm going to ride up to the front and let them know somebody has dropped the bottle. We have a gap. And only one person paid attention. So, I don't care. So we're doing 26 miles an hour. Ride to the front to let them know we're going to regroup after the bridge.
Michael, group after the bridge. Somebody dropped the bottle after the bridge.
everybody heard that, but you know, certain people didn't want to stop. So Michael slowed down. I basically turned off the power here. I hate this bridge. It's really rough. It shakes you up. So I stand. See my shadow right there. So that was Saturday.
Go back!